Flags. Those wacky banners that fly anywhere, and for anything. They can convey a message with only a few symbols and colors, and they do that job pretty well, be it on the street, on the battlefield, or online. There are 5 basic rules for what makes a flag look good. Keep it simple, use meaningful symbolism, use 2 or 3 basic colors, no lettering or seals, and be distinctive. Sounds simple enough, right? Flag should be recognizable at a distance, be simple enough, and should absolutely never have lettering. Now can you take a guess who doesn't follow these rules? So I'm in the process of a much larger video. A whole video about flags of the world, in the same vein as that National Anthems video, if anybody remembers that. For the Q&A, I came across this question, which asked me to talk about city flags, and dear God, was it a rabbit hole. As you see, I wasn't simply looking through flags of American cities, but also city flags across the world. In the least shocking development ever, there are a lot of different ways that cities choose to represent themselves. The more and more I looked across the globe, the more American city flags just ended up looking worse. You see, this video title is a little bit of clickbait. As it turns out, not all city flags are abominations.
Impressive. Very nice.
Just most of them are. In the US, mostly from California. But I didn't just want to make fun of city flags, I wanted to travel the globe, through the internet. And then once we've ventured this wide world, we can fully take in the absolute monstrosities that fly over our American cities. Most cities are not unlike your average US state that slaps a seal on a banner and calls it a day. Your typical European city flag will do the same thing. It just so happens to not be a seal, but a coat of arms. Coat of arms are a form of heraldry that can differ in their complexity thanks to culture and history. And because of that, the general trend seems to be that the further south you go, the more complicated the coat of arms will be. Scandinavian flags, for the most part, look pretty great. They follow all the rules of good flag design. Which is funny, because as it turns out, these flags are also coat of arms that were slapped on a banner. It just happens to be that most of these symbols were created within the last 40 years. So they're simplistic seals in a way. Show this to a vexillology nerd to break their brain. Norway really likes repeating things on their coat of arms. You can't have 1 fish or 2 fish, we gotta have 3 fish, or 3 hooks, or 3 birds. Britain is famed for making up symbols just like it makes up village names, but despite its long history of heraldry, many of its city flags are just alright. Their biggest cities are usually just some variation of the St. George's or St. Andrew's cross. France is a land of either tricolors or noble symbols. As an example, Brittany has one recurring theme. This symbol, by the way, is the ermine. It's often paired with the stoat, which looks a lot less threatening and much more adorable than the emblem depicts. Before we leave France, though, shout out to the flag of Mulhouse. Looks like the official symbol of the Japanese Navy if they tumbled through a wormhole. Most of Western Europe will use this basic design of a coat of arms on a multicolored banner. They're what we think of as the typical medieval flag. Germany, especially, is filled with that iconography. Now, while I'm sure there's a fascinating history as to why this certain city is depicted with a wolf, or an eagle, or even a flag, there's only so much time I have. If I skip over 90% of these flags, I hope you can forgive me. Now, while the coat of arms is often repeated, what can differ is the flag it's actually on. Portugal, for instance, uses these square flags, while Austria and Liechtenstein don't even use flags. They use vertical banners. Serbia's show that it certainly hasn't let go of a particular fallen empire. It's kind of funny because Greece itself pays no homage to that past. The only common symbol that reappears from time to time is this anchor and snake. It's an ancient Greek symbol for health that has survived the millennia, and you may recognize it on your next doctor visit. Before we leave Europe, let's take a visit to Kosovo, which probably has the worst flags in Europe. There is no real coat of arms, only a modern seal. Many of these even have a gradient, including the capital of Pristina. and I'm 100% certain this statue was just traced in Illustrator. But while Europe as a whole is generally more traditional and safe, if there's one place that just has fun with its flags, it's Russia. Russia is big, and Russia has a lot of cities that aren't tied down to things like coat of arms. In fact, it's kind of a nice blend of both northern minimalism and an attempt at European medieval iconography. Local Russian flags are great because they visually don't look bad at all. They follow the rules of good flag design. It just happens to be the images on them sometimes look kind of funny. So the end result is a bunch of visually appealing flags that happen to look like goofy fictional nations. As an example, sometimes they're just animals doing something funny, like this stork in a boot, or an eagle holding a ferret. Some have more unconventional animals on their banner, like a frozen mammoth, or a squirrel. As funny as these all are, in true Russian fashion, there is no animal more depicted than the bear. Bear holding a key, bear holding a Bible, bear holding the power of nuclear power itself. Going from west to east, I'm going to briefly talk about Asia. Most city flags in the Middle East are typically just logos on a white field. Saudi Arabia probably has the worst of these. The city of Mecca, the center of the second largest religion in the world that billions pray towards daily? Yeah, its flag looks like it wants to sell me healthcare. And yes, that is a translation of text into English. You can't make this up. Really nowhere else except Israel has city flags, and those are typically just blue and white but with a seal. Central Asia has some pretty interesting designs, but it usually falls back onto using a seal. Except for the district of Tarbagate. I don't know why this cow, dog, and horse are squinting at me. I don't want to stick around to find out. Ulaanbaatar has probably one of the best capital flags I've ever seen. Imagine if this was the DC flag. What's that? China banned city flags in 1997? Oh, well darn. Yeah, turns out China doesn't allow municipalities to have their own flag. So, hey, Hong Kong, enjoy that nice flag while you can. I guess that just leaves South Korea, and what is there to really say here? I don't know why, but white flags with text just annoy me. That's all South Korea has. It just feels like a nation of corporate logos. What's most annoying is so many of these only recently changed, and it was to make their flags worse. I love that Daegu's flag has an awkward shade of yellow. Like, it's just dull enough you have a hard time making out what it looks like. I appreciate that. Oh, I forgot one. What's a Japan? Yeah, so Japan has the best flags for some reason. They all take after the national flag and have a symbol in the center with a monocolored background. Some of these miss the mark a bit, sure, but even the weakest ones would look like the best city flags in the US. Technically, though, this does break the rule of not having any text, since these symbols are stylized characters. So, yeah, checkmate. 0 out of 10. Worst flags ever. Alright, on to the Americas. Latin America plays it safe. Most of their flags are either 2 or 3 colors. Usually they're just tricolors or bicolors, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It still follows the rules for what makes a good flag. And it's funny seeing how many tricolors you can mix and match. If you ever want to make up some fictional European nation, just find a random Latin American town and copy that. But let's be honest. If there is anyone that should plagiarize these flags, it's US cities. So we have traveled the world. For the most part, city flags are just the coat of arms slapped on some colored banner. The outcome can look fantastic, or terrible, but most of the time a coat will just be mediocre at best. US cities don't have coats. Instead, we have seals. Seals, for the most part, do the same job as coats, but they're mainly little dioramas or pictures representing the place they're about. So the results are much different. A majority of US city flags are just a seal on a banner. That's it. They're like all those state flags. I'm not gonna waste your time with the mediocre designs, just keep in mind these are the main city flags you'll ever see. To keep things interesting, I collected a small sample of flags that I think best represents your typical American experience. So many of these don't simply break the rules of flag design, they break the rules of visual comprehension in general. Just mind-boggling decisions. Seals are already generic enough, but they at least look official. Many cities don't even do that right. It's like they decided where it should go with a game of pin the tail on the donkey. Why even have the seal at all if it's so small all of these images just blurred together? Is this meant to be viewed at a distance of 3 inches? Pomona's seal gives way to the massive bold font that lets you know, yup, it's Pomona. So many of these flags are just awkwardly balanced. They already have a seal, but then need font to repeat the same name again. I don't even know what happened with Westwego. Not only does the seal overlap parts of the tricolor, but it seems like their seal is a full 5 pixels at most. I don't even know if this is just a bad compression from the internet. I truly believe this flag is flying somewhere in 240p. I mean, at least that seal is circular, which can't be said about Wells, Maine. Is this really a seal? What are you? Next are the flags I just call logos, because that's all they are. What else are they? They aren't flags. The city councils that picked them knew nothing about what makes a good flag, nor did they care. These flags are some of the most American things you can imagine. As they don't have symbolism or heraldry, they only have advertising. It's like if the US flag was made in Microsoft Word, and every morning school children pledged allegiance to bold letters that say USA. There was really only one state where these popped up all the time. Can you guess? All of these flags just scream Florida to me. It's that cheapness, the combination of so many things going wrong. It embodies the Sunshine State. I love it. Sometimes these logos are paired with gradients. Gradients that are made in PowerPoint. Oh man, I love them. Logo flags are just unsalvageable. Usually you can do a few tweaks that make a flag look good, but not these. They're nothing but text. Once you remove that, and whatever clip art they decide to find online, what else is left? It's removing the veil and seeing the husk that is this town's identity. Jesus, that's a little too harsh. Okay, as much as I'm bullying these flags, I want to clarify. The reason that these all probably exist is because they were birthed from council meetings of old people who probably just wanted to get it over with. You think elderly Susan, overlooking a constituency of 2,000 people, wants to be lectured about what makes a good flag by some nerd? And even if all these flags followed every rule of good flag design, there's only so many designs that can go around. One important rule is to be distinctive and have good symbolism. But how do you make one suburban middle-class town look different than the next suburban middle-class town? Was there some unique history one had that the other 5 miles down didn't? Because even if they had all perfect designs, eventually they just blend together. And how do I know that? Because a place like that already exists. Puerto Rico. It doesn't have a functioning government, but I'll be damned if every little village and town doesn't have a flag that follows all the rules of good design. Look at these. They're little nation states. It's a different cultural attitude, one that doesn't really exist in the US. It used to not exist. I mean, times are changing and flags are improving. While towns and villages have logos on their flag, I can forgive that. What I can't forgive is a major city having a terrible flag, or an average city birthing an abomination. Look at this. They put it between the colors. Why is the O so long? So many flags use loving clip art. They couldn't find an actual designer, so they just googled what they thought would look nice. Newark put a seal on its flag, but they seem to have lowered the opacity so much that you can't even tell what this is. I actually like complicated flags sometimes. I'll be an avid defender of the Maryland flag until the day I die, but this is too much. I get it's supposed to be like heraldry, but these are images that clash too much. If you couldn't tell, this image is supposed to be a phoenix rising from the ashes, and it's just executed terribly. It's an open secret how bad this flag is, and residents have been wanting to change it for years. Milwaukee, do I even need to say anything? This flag is one of the poster childs for bad flag design. It's been beaten to death by the internet. This impressively breaks every rule of flag design. The overly complicated images, colors that clash with one another, the multiple uses of flags within this flag. I never even noticed the tiny American one until writing this video, but still, there are worse. Starting off with Beverly Hills. Yes, that Beverly Hills. The seal itself is comical. Every little image brings in something new, all wrapped together in this building, which I'm 100% sure is just a JPEG with a Photoshop filter. It's gaudy and looks terrible, but it probably took millions to make. Provo. I'm impressed the city of Sanger has stuck with this flag since the 80s, assuming it's the 80s because this looks like it was ripped straight from a VHS from a 1988 infotape. There's such things as too many stripes, and Tampa shows it. As an Ohio man myself, I typically love non-rectangular flags, but this cannot compare to the others. It feels like it tried to be a rectangular flag, but gave up in the middle. A good way I'd describe this flag is indecisive. What symbols do we want? Slap all of them together. There's a lot of bad flags, but two I think are the most infamous, are ones you probably already know about. Sadly, these are so bad, they no longer are around, just like the Great Auk. First, Cedar Rapids. It looks like an old-timey attraction. The sketched out landscape, the text that was certainly written in 2 minutes. This was a beauty that, while ugly, had character. Now, while the new fancy flag certainly works as a design and looks good, it doesn't have that history that this beauty once had. Nothing has more character, though. Nothing can compete with the king of bad flags, the flag of Pocatello, Idaho. Yes, that's right. There is a copyright and trademark logo on that flag. Take it in. Let it encompass you. This is the peak of the mountain, the end of our journey. We explored the world, learning of different cultures and designs, only to end up here in Pocatello, and fully appreciating the majesty that is this flag. Yeah, originally I was gonna talk about some actually good flags, and they exist, trust me. They're just not that funny. This video ended up being a lot longer than I thought it would be, and I kinda want to talk about them in another project, hint hint. But, hey, city flags. Maybe you didn't even know cities had flags. But they do, and most aren't good. That's the lesson, bye! Password. Come on, you know it's me. I need the password. Okay, let me think. Maybe it's here somewhere. Time's ticking. Okay, shut up. Drat, I forgot. Well, you know, this wouldn't have happened if you remembered the password was NordPass, the sponsor of today's video. Oh, no, their integration. I didn't sign up for this. Did you know the most common password is 123456? Really? Oh, that's my password. And that's because you're a big dummy. Passwords are incredibly important. They're the keys to every aspect of our online life. And sometimes those keys can get stolen by miscreants and ne'er-do-wells. But that's where NordPass comes in handy. It's a service which allows you to not only remember your passwords, but keep them secure while doing it. Sometimes having your browser remember for you isn't the best idea. It's smart to have a service specifically designed with safety and protection of your passwords in mind. NordPass keeps your passwords locked up tight, saving you time by not only auto-filling your passwords, but auto-generating new protective ones as well. Now, entrusting a service with your passwords may make you uneasy, but NordPass is a service built only for you. It's an encrypted vault that only you can access and nobody else. And if one of your passwords is compromised, you'll be instantly alerted. Get a 2-year NordPass premium plan plus an additional 1 month for free. It's risk-free with NordPass's 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to nordpass.com/AHH and use the code AHH to get this deal. Keep your password safe and organized. Wait, what was that URL again? I was busy changing my password. Hey, how do you spell password? That's nordpass.com/AHH. You probably shouldn't have that be your password either, Jimmy. Come on, this is like Internet 101 stuff.